Mercedes Mone is absolutely wrong, and in this video, I'm going to explain exactly where she's mistaken about her recent statements and why I felt compelled to address this issue. Mercedes Mone has undeniably made a significant impact in AEW and is clearly enjoying her time in the promotion for various reasons. However, she has become more outspoken than ever. When Mercedes Mone signed with AEW in March of this year, it was a notable event. It's important to remember that AEW has faced severe criticism for their booking of the women's division. The division had been heavily scrutinized, with fans and critics alike expressing dissatisfaction with how female wrestlers were being utilized and promoted. Earlier this year and even into late 2023, AEW decided to revamp their women's division. They aim to elevate it by bringing in notable names such as Camille and Mercedes Mone, reviving talents like Serena Deeb, and giving more prominence to Britt Baker. This strategic move was intended to strengthen the division, much like how they elevated Tony Khan to another level. With Mercedes Mone, there were high expectations because she is a significant star. Whether you like her or not, her star power is undeniable. In my opinion, she brings substantial star power to the AEW roster. There aren't many individuals on the AEW roster, and I would even argue that the WWE roster doesn't have as many people with the superstar-level presence that Mercedes Mone brings. Her appearances at live events and on television every week add considerable value, which is why Tony Khan opted to sign her to a lucrative deal, essentially providing her with a blank check. This decision came at a time when she was in talks with both WWE and AEW. She went back and forth between the two promotions and even admitted that she felt she might be at WrestleMania 39 in SoFi Stadium if she chose WWE. However, she ultimately opted to join AEW. In AEW, she is essentially the B of the women's division. Although she holds the TBS Championship and not the Women's Championship held by Dr. Britt Baker, who has had a breakout year, it's important to note that Dr. Britt Baker is not the face of AEW's women's division. That role belongs to Mercedes Mone for two primary reasons. First, AEW has invested in Mone to make a significant impact, and to a certain degree, they have. Second, she is the face of the company's women's division, being utilized more prominently in feature roles than even Tony Khan or Dr. Britt Baker. This brings us to today's video. Mercedes Mone certainly knows how to generate buzz, and she did so once again during an interview with AOX. In that interview, she claimed that AEW's women's matches headline AEW pay-per-view events. However, she is about to be proven wrong on 2 counts, which I will discuss shortly. Let's break down what she said in her interview with AOX. I knew where I wanted to be and what I wanted to leave in pro wrestling to take this women's division to whole new heights all over the world. I wanted to have more for women's wrestling, so I knew going to AEW was the best place to make that happen. I feel like the women's division has really changed the game. The women's division has been the best it's ever been. The women's storylines are headlining AEW pay-per-view events, so it's just amazing to see how far we've come, and I'm really excited for more. Firstly, it's crucial to note that there has never been a women's match that has headlined an AEW pay-per-view event. This makes her statement factually incorrect. Additionally, claiming that AEW's women's division has changed the game is another overstatement. Think about that. How can she assert that the women's division has changed the game when, in reality, AEW has underutilized talents like Britt Baker to the point where I'd prefer her to go to WWE, where she could be used more effectively? Mercedes Mone has not been utilized correctly in years. AEW chose to bring in Camille, a former NWA Women's Champion, positioning her as the bodyguard to Mercedes Mone, almost treating her like a subordinate. This diminishes Mone's status and showcases a lack of respect for her abilities and star power. When we look outside of Mercedes Mone, who on AEW's roster is a bigger star? Look at names like Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton, and Nia Jax. These women have immense star power and talent, providing ample space within WWE's women's division. In contrast, AEW's roster lacks such high-caliber talent. Without Mercedes Mone, AEW's women's division would have only one or two names with significant star power, like Britt Baker and perhaps Tony Khan himself. Returning to Moné's comments about AEW's women's storylines headlining pay-per-view events, she could have been speaking hypothetically, suggesting that it's possible for it to happen. However, if we take her statements at face value, they are factually incorrect. For example, while she might argue that Tony Khan and Mariah May had great storylines, leading to significant matches at major events, these matches did not headline the shows. Even matches like Mercedes Mone vs. Britt Baker, which were top storylines, did not headline AEW pay-per-view events. Instead, events were headlined by high-profile male wrestlers like Bryan Danielson and Adam "Swerve" Strickland, who are the main attractions and primary ticket sellers for AEW. This raises the question, what is AEW actually doing? I understand that Mone wants to be the face of AEW's women's division, and I believe she also aspires to be the face of the company itself. But when does it become necessary to step back and evaluate what Mone is trying to achieve? She can claim that AEW has the best wrestling company tagline, stating that it's where the best wrestlers compete. While there could be an argument or debate about AEW having some of the best women's wrestlers in the world and possessing superior in-ring ability, claiming that they have the best division in all of wrestling is absolutely absurd. On what planet is she making such a statement? It's ludicrous and mind-boggling to think she actually said that in an interview. If she was misquoted regarding the pay-per-view events, that might be a misunderstanding. However, the first statement about changing the game is outrageous. It's hard to take her comments seriously when the reality doesn't match her claims. AEW's women's division has not transformed the landscape of women's wrestling. Rather, it has struggled to gain the same traction and recognition as other major promotions like WWE. Moreover, AEW has underutilized Britt Baker to her potential. While she has a strong presence, she isn't positioned as the face of the division despite her popularity and in-ring skills. Instead, Mercedes Mone receives more focus, but without the support and elevation necessary to truly lead the division to new heights. This imbalance highlights the flawed approach AEW is taking with their women's division. Another point of contention is the promotion's overall strategy. By positioning Mercedes Mone as the face of the women's division, AEW has placed a lot of responsibility on her shoulders without providing the necessary support and infrastructure to back her up. This leads to an uneven and ineffective women's division, where Moné's star power isn't enough to carry the division forward on its own. In addition, AEW's booking decisions have consistently favored male wrestlers, who continue to headline events and draw the majority of the audience. This not only undermines the potential of the women's division but also perpetuates the perception that women's wrestling is secondary within the promotion. For AEW to truly elevate their women's division, they need to make more strategic and balanced booking decisions that give female wrestlers equal opportunities to shine and headline events. Furthermore, Mercedes Moné's statements about AEW's women's division seem to be an attempt to paint the division in a much more favorable light than it currently is. By exaggerating the division's achievements, she may be trying to boost her own image and justify her position within the company. However, this approach backfires because it fails to acknowledge the genuine issues and challenges that AEW's women's division faces. It's also worth noting that while Mercedes Mone brings star power alone isn't enough to sustain a successful division. AEW needs to focus on developing storylines, creating compelling rivalries, and providing consistent opportunities for their female wrestlers to showcase their talents. Without these foundational elements, the division will continue to struggle despite the presence of high-profile talents like Mone. In conclusion, Mercedes Moné's recent comments about AEW's women's division are misguided and exaggerated. While she brings undeniable star power to the promotion, her statements do not align with the reality of how AEW's women's division is currently being managed and promoted. AEW has significant room for improvement in how they book and support their female wrestlers. Until AEW can provide a more balanced and supportive environment for their women's division, claims that the division is the best it's ever been or that women's storylines are headlining pay-per-view events will continue to be unfounded and misleading. Let me know down in the comments what you think about Mercedes Moné's comments. Do you believe she's right, or do you think she's wrong about AEW's women's division? Personally, I believe she's in the wrong, and I'm eager to hear your perspectives on this matter.